All right, there we go. So it's weird stuff going on. I don't know what's going on, but I think Cat Williams might have been on to something about 2024 because
Oh Lord.
this year, man, when I tell you the gatekeepers are falling, it's getting
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Yep, he
you know,
started it
we
all.
all know what's going on with Mr. Combs, of course. But
Mhm.
I mean, I don't even know if this isn't a shock to me, but it's just a weird story about Abercrombie and Finch, the CEO. You heard about that?
I
Yes.
saw I glanced at
What?
that. I didn't read the story. It was like something with him, like with models and like. Okay, walk me through
Yeah.
it because I didn't read the whole thing.
Well, you know what I'll do? Better, I can show you more than I can tell you.
Oh
So,
God. Okay.
Mm.
oh Lord. All right, let me play this real quick. This is weird stuff, man. I don't know what the hell's going on, but every day is getting weirder out here. So,
Mhm.
Former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch was just busted for allegedly running an international sex trafficking ring and engaging in interstate prostitution.
He was using his power, his wealth, and his influence to traffic men for his own sexual pleasure.
Mike Jeffries, seen here in the white shorts after his $10 million bond hearing in West Palm Beach, and two other men were arrested this morning, accused of sexually exploiting aspiring male models. According to the indictment, 15 John Does accused the 80-year-old former CEO of pressuring them to participate in sex parties at lavish locations around the world.
In the Hamptons, in New York City, England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's, for the purpose of attending events to engage in commercial sex. They caused the men to believe that attending these sex events could yield modeling opportunities with Abercrombie or otherwise benefit their careers.
The men claim they were pressured to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the sex events. Before Mike Jeffries was forced to resign from Abercrombie and Fitch, he was one of America's highest paid CEOs, earning an estimated $400 million in 10 years. Now, the brand has been plagued with controversy for reportedly only hiring hot and attractive salespeople, while other less attractive employees were assigned to the stockroom out of sight of customers.
Wow.
anyway, let me turn it off. Okay, so I'm laughing because I'm laughing on the side note because I remember when I read a story no, I saw a story of it happened some years back where the Abercrombie and Fitch store was only hiring people that look good. You
Uh
ever
huh.
see that? So,
Yeah, that's been a long known controversy. They weren't hiring blacks. They
oh
only
yeah,
hired attractive white people. I think it was particularly white blonde, attractive. I guess I don't know what that
that
standard
store
is.
it looked like. I mean, that store it looked like Baywatch basically, right?
I pretty much or Ken and Barbie type, you know.
Yeah.
And
So
I never really liked going in that store because I went in that store maybe once or twice, and they always looked at me weird. Like,
first of all, that that
Mm.
store that store ain't for us, man. You gonna go in
nah,
there
Right.
and
nah.
True.
get
But
No,
get
I've
attractive
you.
never
is
even been in
attractive
one.
it, is subjective, right? Like
Very
I don't
Yeah.
subjective.
really, you know.
Of course.
So
But
who discovers that only attractive people are getting hired? You know what I mean? Like who
Only
well,
applied and didn't get the job that got mad? Like
it was some
yeah.
type of a documentary, a news thing I saw some years ago where the woman, I think she was attractive, but she was saying I think her friend tried to get a job and it was like nah. Oh no,
Hmm.
that's what it was. They hired this friend, but they didn't give her no hours. So her friend was getting all the hours, and she was getting like a calm little 1 2 hours a week. She's like, I might well not even work here.
I
Right.
mean, really.
What
all
in the
right,
world?
you know what? That's fine.
So, but
But
That is
neither here nor there. I
crazy.
mean, it ain't no store I would have went into. You know what I'm saying? But the
Mhm.
crazy thing is that first of all, this guy he looked like everything they accuse him of, in my opinion. But
yeah, yeah.
but, but as you see,
Abercrombie freak
it's
offs
like
is crazy though. That's
Right.
It's not
he's
really. Honestly, it's not even really that surprising to me. It's just it's like everybody's skeletons are being revealed now.
man.
Ironically, around Halloween, all the skeletons are coming out the closet, and it's like now I'm sure there's a lot of other people, way up at the top of something that are running scared now because people are becoming a lot more emboldened to tell now. It,
Right.
it, it always happens like once one big person comes down, then victims are starting to feel a lot more comfortable about, well, I'm telling this person now. I'm gonna tell on that
Right.
person now. So I'm sure there's a few more giants about to fall, So
Man, I'm
I
telling
believe
you,
that.
Cat Williams.
Yeah,
I wasn't big on saying he knew something, but he must have known something because he said something about 2024. And I'm
he
telling you,
did.
if you would have told me last year, if you'd have told me at the beginning of the year that all this stuff is happening the way it is, I would probably
yeah.
wouldn't have believed it. You know what I'm saying? Because
I'm not even surprised, to be honest with you. I mean, after
I ain't
Bill
surprised it's
Cosby,
happening.
it's like, I mean, if you can bring down Cliff Huxtable, I mean, anybody's fair game at that point. you know, of
Point
all
taken.
people, Cliff Huxtable. I just did not want to believe that he was capable because he was just such an icon. And I'm like, if he can do some dirty, then I'm not surprised at anybody after that.
You know who else? And it wasn't this year. This is an old
Yeah.
story. But who else went out bad? Y'all might not even remember. The
Hmm.
father from Alf. Remember the show Alf?
The
Yeah,
father from
Oh
Alf.
I
yeah,
I
remember
You ever
remember
get a
that.
Alf.
chance, just Google his story. The father from Alf. He went out bad, bro.
What did
Like
he do?
No,
really.
I don't even
it
remember that.
was all the bad stuff.
Oh
So
no.
Father
Jeez.
from Alf.
I
yeah,
love that
bro, he
show
ended up
too.
like a drug addict. I think it was some child porn charges in there. It was a lot that happened with this dude, bro.
Oh no.
Okay.
Yeah, every get a
Oh,
chance, look up
Wow.
the father from
yeah. His name is Max Wright. Okay.
Hmm.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I don't
You
remember
seeing it? You
it.
looking at it?
I'm looking at it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow.
My
Yeah, he
gosh.
died. He died about 5 years ago, but
Hmm.
Yeah, but his
like he was doing
story on the
some
way
wild
out
stuff.
was crazy.
Mm.
Jeez.
This is just.
Look,
Yo,
look at
Uh,
the father from Seventh Heaven. He was the
I
Yeah,
things
do
that he was
remember that.
accused of.
I remember that too.
yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that
That
too.
that was
was,
awful too.
you on TV playing a pastor.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
hmm
Oh
jeez.
goodness.
Well, you know what?
Uh,
Or
You
Jared the
never
Subway
know
guy. Did anybody watch that documentary?
yeah, I remember that
Yep.
too.
You
what's
know
up with
Uh-huh.
him.
what? That documentary made me
Jared.
Yeah,
Yep.
Jared
Jared.
Subway guy.
Yeah,
I
Yep.
honestly, after watching that documentary, it made me it literally it made me physically ill to hear. I wanted to kill that guy. I'm like,
Mm.
yeah,
somebody go to federal prison and kill that guy because
Hmm.
Yeah.
he's just a monster, a
Yeah.
yeah.
monster.
He was
And the
when
things
he
that he
was
was
sleeping with
describing out of his own
kids.
mouth of
Hmm.
what he was doing to those kids, it just made me
Hmm.
sick,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
sick. Like
Yeah.
No,
how
that's wild.
how how in
Yeah.
the world can you? Ugh,
Hmm.
ugh.
But some of these folks, man, they get into a place of power or prominence, and all them them demons that all comes out. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if they feel like there's no consequences for their actions. You know what
That's
I
the
mean?
problem.
They
That
get
part. They
yeah.
think they're untouchable. I got all this money. I can make
Yep.
things go away. Like,
Yep.
no, someone is going to get you. Someone is going to get you and take you down.
It all comes
yeah.
out
It's going to
eventually.
come
It
out.
does.
Yeah.
Well, and they had
Mm,
access. That's the thing. When people start getting
mm,
access to
That
people, you know what I'm saying? They start
yeah.
getting the access. It's like kind of like, yo, I can make people. So if you look at this Abercrombie and Fitch guy, what's interesting to me is like the whole. I would consider him like a gatekeeper because if he's like the whole CEO of the whole company,
Hmm.
he gets to decide if you like a male model and you trying to do this thing with that company, he
Yeah.
decide whether it's yay or nay. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He's like, yo, you got to come to this party and you know pop these pills and come hang out and all this stuff.
Mm,
It's kind of like either you gonna do it or you ain't gonna do it. Now, I
yep.
mean, we all know in all the industries, modeling, music, acting, it's a lot of that type of stuff going on. But usually, from my opinion, I used to think it was like the gatekeepers were like middle people between the actual people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like in
Yeah,
music, it would be like the lower A&R guy maybe, or A&R
yeah.
woman who would
Yeah.
kind of,
The
try to.
security who's you want to see the artist, you got to talk to me first.
Or
That kind of
exactly
Yep.
that
yeah.
type of
No,
vibe,
Yep.
it's not that.
And
It's the guy at the
now
top.
it feels like it's a damn CEO of the whole damn thing
Yeah.
now. So you
Mm.
know, but this guy, he's definitely going to be going down because they all over him, and this is the
Yep.
season for it because as you see, that's what's going on with all of them. So
they're out for blood at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The government's out for blood, so they're gonna be like anybody that comes forward and makes a complaint about somebody big, they're gonna
yeah,
take it seriously and they're
Yeah.
gonna investigate and they're gonna go hard because at this
Yep.
point they're like we're taking all these giants down. You
Yep.
I
know,
wonder what changed though. I mean, I feel like maybe nothing has changed, but I feel like something has changed over like the last year or two, maybe, or is it just regular?
I know. I feel like something's changed. I think people
Something
with
happened.
the Me Too movement. I think that people are taking a lot of these complaints a lot more seriously, and the fact that a lot of stuff that was kept behind closed doors is starting to come to light because there's a lot of promises that weren't kept.
Mm.
Because here's the
Right.
thing: when it starts off promising people money and positions and all of this stuff. And then it kind of evolves into more like force and extortion and damn near kidnapping. At some point, people are going to start to fight back because it's like, well, I didn't get what I was promised. I didn't get
Mm-hmm.
the money that I said I was going to get. I didn't get these positions that I thought I was going to get. So now
Yeah.
I'm going to tell I have nothing to lose.
Yep.
But
So
the question is like,
Mm-hmm.
are the people like deciding they're gonna go so far with certain things? Like, yo, come oil me down, give me a massage, and let me do this to you and do all that, and then I'll give you X, Y, Z. Like, to
Mm.
me, it's a hell no from the very beginning.
right,
Like,
right, right.
I
Right.
That's
you
why
know what I'm saying?
I be like, there has to be some kind of accountability. I'm not victim blaming at all.
No,
I'm talking about people who participate in this stuff
right.
and then
Mm-hmm.
years later say, hey, well, you had a choice, and at some point you chose to participate in this situation. Now, everybody don't get a choice. Hit me, I mean, so I'm not saying that that's everybody, but there are people who like
Well,
you kind
absolutely.
of
I think we have to be. I
you
think we
wanted
have to
that.
be
You
realistic.
wanted that the benefits of what was gonna come, and
Mm-hmm.
you accepted what you had to do to get there.
Right.
Yeah,
So
because you saying like,
Yeah.
because just to that point, like twin, you saying like, okay, I didn't get what I was promised. So the question is, if they got what they was promised, would you
would
have
they
hurt
have
them?
talked?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of people who have not come forward,
I agree.
who did whatever they had to do to get wherever they thought they needed to get, and once they got to wherever they felt that they wanted to arrive, they haven't said anything. Because the people that's talking are not the only quote unquote victims. They're not the only ones
Sure.
who laid on the casting couch, so to speak, to get
Mm-hmm.
where they needed to go in their career. There are lots of people out there, and I'm not victim blaming either, but let's be real. There's a lot of people who really, really wanted to get to the top of whatever career they wanted to get to, and that were willing to do whatever it took
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yeah.
So we do need to separate the victims from the willing participants. And some of those people, they do fit in both categories. Some people
True.
were willing
Right.
participants until they weren't. And at that
Mm.
Right.
point, they were
Right.
victimized because they felt like their backs were against the wall. They weren't, there's nothing they
Right.
could do. But I mean, accountability needs to go where accountability needs to go.
But
You
that's the
know,
whole point, though.
Mm-hmm.
So when you
You
have,
know what else pissed me off? Um, and this is more so to go back to the kind of the Diddy thing and the recent allegation with like the 13-year-old girl and the way they worded that whole presentation of that. Like, um, he, I guess, took her to, I guess, a VMA party, and they allegedly he raped the 13-year-old along with another male and a female celebrity. But it's like, if it's why wouldn't you tell me who that male and female celebrity is? Why are you just saying this person's name if they're accusing all three of them?
No,
Correct.
I
Why
didn't
are
even
we?
hear. I didn't even hear about that
No, that
one.
Yeah,
it went. So
that's
yeah,
out
that
now.
came out
Yeah,
That's a new one.
earlier this
that's a
week.
new
But
one.
it's like,
Yeah.
why are
Okay,
you?
so sorry. So the story is that we're talking about Diddy.
Yeah,
Yes.
So
they said.
Diddy, he took a 13-year-old to.
An
Yeah,
after party
apparently it
at
was
his
some
after.
13-year-old girl. It was like a VMA party or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
they said that at the VMA party, the girl was raped by not only Diddy but another male and female celebrity. But
Mm-hmm.
my problem with that thing is, as messed up as that charge is, if they're accusing another male and female celebrity, those names should be right there
Yeah.
as prominent as Diddy's name
Oh,
in
I
that
agree.
accusation.
I
Yeah.
agree. You need to let
That
us
made
know
no sense to me
all
why
the
you would
people,
be. I
all
feel
the
like
names.
there's a protection still to certain people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Absolutely.
that's a problem for me.
Mm-hmm. Just
Hmm.
like
So
even
I
with his
agree. I
whole
think
case, they
that's
were saying that they weren't going to release the names or whatever. I'm like, that's not right. We need to know
right.
who these people are.
right,
Put them out there. Put them on
Yeah.
Front Street on blast.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right that they're just not
especially
going
with
to
an
do that.
accusation that serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is something weird with it. It's almost like they want to isolate them, and that's why I'm like, again, I agree with y'all. I'm not mad at nobody. I'm not trying to
Mhm.
victim shame anybody, like you said. But at the same time, we do have to differentiate victims from participants and
Mhm.
mhm.
those who are some of both, because we got to define it. Because sometimes I feel like, and usually, I can't even say that no more. I used to say it usually only would happen to women in entertainment. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But it seemed like now it's more of a male thing, and more of a male thing too. Like, it's
Mhm.
not just women who are on the casting couch. It seems like there's dudes who are offered stuff. But I just feel like, I don't know. To me, B, you could tell. To me, it's cut and dry, man. Like, I ain't doing no gay stuff.
Yeah, I'm
You know
not
what I'm
going.
saying?
It's
Like,
just not
I
happening.
just, it ain't happening. I don't.
I don't see a career level that you can promise me that will make me
No.
say,
Mhm.
you know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's not happening.
Right.
it ain't happening.
That's just,
It ain't happening. So, and have you ever experienced anything, G, where you felt like, when we were grinding out here trying to, pursue songwriting and artistry and all that, have you ever felt that coming from any A&R or anybody kind of coming like that a little bit?
Oh gosh, yes. I've been in situations with other producers and all kinds of stuff. If you do this and do that, like no, no. Even one time, someone locked me in their studio.
What?
Yeah,
Locked
and
you in the studio?
yes, they locked me in the studio, and they were like, "Oh, you're gonna do this, or else, you're not gonna get this song. I'm not gonna give you this song." Unless you do something. So we sat there for a couple hours because I was like, it's not going down. I'm not that type of chick.
Sorry, go upstairs, bud.
So
Come
yeah.
down here.
So even the
Oh,
people, I mean, it's at the
sorry, my
top
bad.
and these ones that are still at the bottom. You know what I mean? Doing some
yeah,
nasty, cruddy stuff behind the scenes. And
Yeah,
it's just sick. Like, you think people are just going to just do whatever?
wow.
No, we have more. Well, I have morals and I have standards.
Yeah,
So no, I wasn't going for that. And so I never, after I got out of there, that whole situation, I never spoke to him ever again, ever,
yeah,
yeah,
ever again. I got
yeah.
Mm,
my phone
People
back.
will definitely try to exploit their position if
absolutely.
they feel like they're in a position to do it. They'll definitely
Yeah,
try it,
Oh,
right.
yeah,
absolutely.
which is insane to me. But
And when
it
you're a
is, it
young
is.
artist, like starting out, and you're really, you really want to get in the studio. You're so passionate about this. Oh my God, I'm starting. I'm trying to do this, and then it's like, gosh, is this really what? I mean, you hear the stories, but
right.
to experience it, it's just like, come on now, come
Yeah,
on now. You crush
yeah,
someone's like dreams. You know what I mean? In a
right.
certain way, like it's just sick.
Well,
People are just
I,
sick out of it.
I would imagine it becomes even more shocking, like, because it happens on all different levels. You know what I'm saying? whether
That
it be
that part.
a regular lower level
That's
producer
what
or
I'm
A&R.
saying.
But then
Yep.
I think it's even more shocking when it happens at the superstar level.
Hmm.
People are kind of like, damn, I'm sitting here with Diddy, or I'm sitting here with whoever. I don't want to name other names per se, but just other people on Diddy's level. You sitting with them, and you're like, yo, I'm in the room finally with people
Hmm.
who really could change my life, and then they hit you
Right.
with that. And I
Hmm.
think, I never been in that situation, but I can imagine it's a different kind of shock because you
Hmm.
almost like, damn, I really want to get somewhere, but
Yep.
what's this person asking me to do? You know what I'm
At the
saying?
end
Like,
of the day, bro, listen, listen. All you gonna really have left is your morals and your own integrity, right?
That's it.
So
facts.
if I leave out of this room without the record deal I thought I was coming in here with, guess what? I didn't have that record deal yesterday. I didn't,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? This
Ex-
wasn't the one for me. But you ain't finna
That's
take,
right.
you know what I mean, my manhood, you know what I
No,
mean?
Yep.
It
definitely
ain't
not.
worth it. Some things,
Yeah.
some costs ain't worth it, bro. It
Not.
ain't. It
Some
just
some
ain't.
some
I
things
think
just ain't
some
gonna
of
happen.
them.
I agree.
I think
Yeah.
some
Now,
people get in a position where um, they may feel like, well, I'll be blackballed. I might not, if I
Yeah.
say no and not work with this person and try to work with somebody else,
Mm.
maybe I'll never, get a chance to work with it. I think some of them tell them that
I
too.
might be blackball, but I ain't touching black balls. I'll tell
I
you that.
You
right.
know
It's
what?
not happening.
Exactly. Well, you know what it is? I think now this is what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna just say this on record. You know what I'm saying? I ain't ashamed to say this. I'm gonna say that for men, I kind of feel like I'm not saying you can't get proposition. Any straight man could get proposition. I'm a straight man, and if I got proposition, it's possible anybody can get proposition.
Hmm.
But to B's point, I'm not. There ain't no gay stuff gonna be happening based on something that I could get. Like I kind of feel like the people, because you're not gonna coerce me into doing something like that. It
Exactly.
ain't enough
Right.
coercing. It ain't enough ain't no drugs, nothing like that. My thing is that you might be a little. Some people might be a little bit that way, a little bit possibly, and then. And it doesn't mean that they deserve it. I'm just saying that some people might be a little bit on the bisexual side, a little bit, and they're kind of, maybe they're swayed into possibly doing things, in that realm,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't feel
So
like as a straight man,
what you're saying is, and again, this statement is not to blame victims,
of
but
course.
what you're saying, Sue, if I'm hearing you, is like at some level you have to be okay with it for it to happen.
Yes,
As a man,
you're
as a
absolutely
man,
right.
not to
Yeah, that's what I'm
saying I'm
saying.
not
Like,
saying that they're okay with being what I mean. I'm
no,
not
no,
saying, but there has to be some level of I'm willing to do this for you to get to that point of things getting done and then things get out of hand.
you're
So
absolutely right. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have to be a little bit that way sexually.
yeah,
'Cause I don't think you could be straight and be coerced into something like that. So,
I agree.
if
I
it's a
agree.
man and a man, so I kind of feel like if a man kind of coming at you like that, and you find yourself doing something, like, it's if you're straight, it's either nothing or something. I mean, it ain't no in
Yeah,
between for me. That's just my opinion. But because, and the reason why I say that is I think for men, I think that the men who prey on other men, they do it in a very subtle way to try to see
Hmm.
if you are possibly
Yeah.
swinging that way a little bit or you're open to something.
Yeah.
They kind of do it like that. So it's a little more subtle because they don't really know how you might react if you're
right.
straight, or you might be curious or whatever it is you're
Hmm.
doing. And then with a woman, they'll still be subtle, but I just feel like with a woman, it's almost like, look, as men, when we trying to get something from a woman, even a straight man, straight woman, not in that type of situation, a man might tell you what you want to hear, take you where you want to go, tell you the right things, all because he's trying to get a goal. He
Hmm.
trying to get
Yeah.
something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
And in those situations, it's the same thing, but it's just he's dangling more things, in front of you as a woman. So I just feel like my
Yeah.
point is, for a man, I feel like the approach is a little more subtle, and I feel like if you gonna do that, you're partially open to do it. Don't mean you
You
deserve
were
it.
already curious about doing it.
You
Mm.
curious because
I mean,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
I've run it.
Yeah.
I didn't really run into those situations in music, but I have run into those situations in life.
Right.
just
Mhm.
in general. I've run into some situations, even at work, where men have felt a little too comfortable um, being touchy feely,
Mhm.
Yeah.
making certain comments to me. You know, I mean, anybody can be sexually harassed at any time.
Right.
And I think when people feel like they have some sort of power over you, no matter how small it may be, they're going to try to exploit that in some kind of way. And and really, honestly, whether you're straight female, straight male, or whatever you are, I feel like if you're open to it, then you may put yourself, if you're open to it, you may put yourself in that situation unnecessarily when you don't
Right.
have to. You know what
Mhm.
I'm
Right.
saying? There's some situations you can't get out of, right?
Yeah.
People are harassed repeatedly. But then
Yeah.
there are some situations where it's like, if you know this person is like this, and you have a choice, you have control over not being around that person, and then you keep going around that person anyway. There's some accountability there, and with that is a reference to the whole Bill Cosby thing, because there are some women who knew they were being drugged, but you kept going back over there for years. That does not make sense to me. I'm
It
sorry.
doesn't.
I'm
No,
not.
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Again, there there's some victimology there. I get that,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I, you I'm
No.
puzzled by
We
that.
say it.
You had the choice
Yeah.
not to go back over there. You weren't over there
Mhm.
at gunpoint.
Yep.
You weren't forced. You
Yeah.
went
Hmm.
over there on your own free will. You
Yep.
knew that you were being drugged every time you went there, but you kept going back there because you wanted to further your career. That, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense to me. I know that's going to be a very unpopular position.
Yeah, no, it's hard to
Yes.
Yes.
feel
I
bad for them.
agree.
It's
And,
hard
and,
to,
and
Yes.
and people who do that. It's
Right.
really hard to like.
it's confusing to me.
Yeah.
Right.
It's confusing. Well, I thought, he had control over my career. How did you think that, though?
Well, no, it's the same.
I don't,
It's the same
I
thing.
don't get
Like
it.
Bill Cosby is
Mhm.
so power. Bill Cosby is like, I mean, he's almost like the P Diddy of TV. You know what I'm saying? In a way, he's so powerful.
And you know what?
I
That even makes it worse in a way. It's like the point that one or both of you made earlier. It's like, if you feel like you're open to this in order to get where you want to go, then there's some accountability that needs to be taken there, because now you have a choice.
Mhm.
Do you want your
Yep.
career, which is that is a choice, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Do you want your career and then go through this, or do you want to exercise your right to say no?
But see, you said that earlier, twin. You like that, but that's the thing. You said earlier about Diddy, about people coming out because they didn't get what they was promised, and that's essentially what happened. Because Bill was promising people, he'll get them here, he'll get them there, and introduce them to here and there. And
A lot of those
there's
women did
some
not
people
get
there's
anywhere.
some people who he helped that I'm sure he was, had sex with or touched on or whatever and helped them. And he ain't gonna help everybody. He gonna help some. And the people who didn't get what they were supposed to get, they came out 40 years later, 30 years later. You know what I'm saying? And
I just don't understand it though. Like, if I know that this person drugged me and assaulted me, why would I keep going back there? Like, I'm not going back there.
Yeah.
There's
well,
no
you know
freaking
what it
way.
is? It's
Mhm.
simple. To me, it's simple as this. And I always say that this ain't something that men have. But for the most part, I would say for the most part, it's women all have a choice as far as what they want to bargain for their sexuality. All women, I don't care what you look like. Well, not all women, but most women. You know what I'm saying? The time they adolescents to the time they become older women, they have a choice as to how to bargain their sexuality. There's always a choice there for them to do that. And some most I would say most women don't do it. But there's a lot of women who will bargain it one way or another. What they bargain it for might be it might be as low as a free meal. You know what I'm saying? They
Right.
might bargain from a free meal all the way to I want to get a guest spot on your show. Your show that's been number one for 9 years. You know, Cosby Show was the biggest thing
Yeah.
smoking. Well, a lot of this stuff was before
Yeah.
Cosby Show, but some of the stuff was during Cosby Show, from what I understand. And you know what I'm saying? He's when you're that big, a woman will decide, okay, well, look, I done had sex with these other people and I ain't get nothing, so I mean, what's one night or 2 nights if I'm gonna
What can
get
it hurt? Right.
yeah, what can it hurt? I just slept with some broke people, so let me see what I can get. And there's just to your point, there's a lot of women who I think decided to make that choice to bargain that, and then if it didn't work out, then they like, shoot, I'm about to jump on this lawsuit. We
There's
might talk
another
about it in
aspect
just a
to
minute.
all of this that affects this that we haven't discussed yet. Um, there, we live in first off, the court of public opinion is crazy right now. Like people get tried
Mhm.
on the internet before you even get to court.
You
But
get tried, convicted, and
Yeah.
there's
executed.
Yeah.
absolutely, but there is a thing where we are living now in a society where it's now guilty until proven innocent. The minute somebody accuses anybody of anything, we somehow immediately believe that accusation. I can
Yeah,
literally say,
That
"So
for a long
you
time.
stole my bike in fifth grade." You know what I
yeah,
mean? And they would believe that you did that before. You know what I
yeah.
mean? It's the
I think it's been like that
accusation.
for a while, though, B.
Yeah,
It's really bad
it's
now,
a
though.
terrible thing though, because
Yeah.
anybody can say anything at this point,
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's a
and
Well,
we know
scary
that people are
thing.
going to believe it.
Yeah.
we
That
all
is
got
a very
microphones
scary
now.
thing.
Everybody got
Right?
microphones
Cameras.
now. So the
Yes.
fact that everybody got microphones now, man, if someone say something about you,
You
yo,
see what I'm
listen,
saying?
Yeah.
listen, even on the I don't know if y'all saw even on Piers Morgan when Jaguar Wright got up there and did an interview and talked and said something about Jay-Z and Beyonce. Don't you know
Yeah,
they sent Piers Morgan a cease and desist letter the next day? Them
yeah,
Yeah.
lawyers ain't playing. They're like,
yeah.
because they don't even want they don't even want that talk to be out there on that. Now on the internet,
Hmm.
on the all friend shows that aren't big, they're saying little stuff like that about Jay Z and Beyonce. But when you go
Right.
on Piers Morgan, because he didn't know Jaguar Wright is different. She's
Yeah.
Right.
different. She's
Different.
canon. So
Yeah.
you don't know what she gonna say. Now I
Hmm.
think that some of the stuff she say is true, and I think some of the stuff she say is not true. Or you don't know what she's gonna say. So she get up there and start saying, stuff about Diddy, but then she starts saying Jay-Z and Beyonce and they're evil people. And man, them lawyers was like, nah.
Nope. Shut it
Hmm.
down.
Pierce,
Yeah.
Pierce the
Shut it
next
down.
day. We
Because
want to
once that
apologize and all
if
that.
that would have let that
That
air,
narrative out there.
if they would have let that air, then no matter whether it's truth to it or not, the fact that it aired, people would have believed it.
Well, that is the
Hmm.
current events as of right now. It's crazy out here. And like I said,
Hmm.
it's one more thing before we get into criminal justice. Well, this actually ties into criminal justice in a way. Now look, I don't know all the drill scene rappers by heart, but I do hear stuff, right? So Lil Durk,
I read that story earlier.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I mean, make no sense.
arrested for murder for hire. So I'm gonna play a little bit of this real quick because I just started getting up on this today. I think
Yeah.
it just happened today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna play this real quick, man, and then we'll talk about it. I mean, I don't understand. People have money and the brains,
They got money but no brains.
no
That.
Hmm?
brains.
Yep.
A whole lot of dollars and
Yep.
no sense.
Good
Yep.
lord, like yo, you just
None at all.
at a certain point you got to say, man,
You're not even that big that you that you can get away with. You know what I'm saying? Like,
nah. You know what? Look, he's you big enough where yeah, he's big enough where he won't get away with it because you known.
You are
So
Yeah,
known.
he's too big to be playing
Rival
in
rapper
that
in a
field right
murder
now.
for hire
Yeah.
scheme in Los Angeles. He has been arrested. As Eyewitness News reporter Annabelle Munoz found out, federal officials say it was a family member of the intended target who ended up being killed by hitmen.
trying to keep me down.
He's 32, a successful rapper, and a Grammy Award winner. Federal authorities say Lil Durk is also behind an alleged murder-for-hire plot.
It is a very violent crime. You're talking about someone losing their life, and perhaps another individual was the target.
Chicago rapper Dirk Banks was arrested near Miami International Airport Thursday night.
Anything you want to say about your son?
His family seen leaving his first court appearance today. A federal complaint says Banks put a bounty on a rival rapper in response to the killing of a close friend in 2020. Roughly 2 years later, this deadly shooting unfolded at a gas station near the Beverly Center in August of 2022. Investigators named several defendants and alleged co-conspirators they say stalked and attempted to murder the rival rapper, and instead ended up killing a relative who was with the target at the time. The indictment says this is a photo of the 3 individuals who fired gunshots at the busy intersection.
What they have shared so far is a tremendous amount of information, especially as it comes to the planning involved in this alleged hit for hire. Weapons were supplied, ski masks were supplied. Those weapons were modified to make at least one of them an automatic weapon.
Authorities say Banks flew into Los Angeles the day before the killing by private plane. They also allege the purchase of flights from Chicago to SoCal and a hotel reservation for the alleged co-conspirators was from accounts linked to Banks and his music collective OTF. Adding that around that time, iCloud records show that a phone number associated with Banks texted an alleged co-conspirator, quote, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me." According to the indictment, Banks had made clear in, quote, coded language that he'd pay a bounty for the murder. Authorities arrested 5 defendants in Chicago Thursday morning and say the FBI learned Banks was booked on 3 international flights before his arrest. If convicted, Banks and the other defendants face a maximum sentence of life in federal prison.
So stupid.
I mean,
Stupid.
come on now.
That's the only thing I can say. When I read that story, I'm like, y'all stupid as hell. You
And
gonna risk your
you're
whole
paying for
career.
your record company's account too. That I
No
can't.
brains at all.
I just could not. None.
I'm trying to put together the words, man. I don't understand. Like people, you
Mm.
you work so hard to get to that point. You know what
And
I'm
throw
saying?
it all
To where
away.
you can get your music out.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
play both games, right?
No.
You gotta you're gonna have to make a choice. And the thing about
Mm.
Dirk and them, and a lot of these, especially here in Chicago, like a lot of these drill rappers, they really want, even the bigger ones. They still want to play both sides. They still want to
Yeah.
play in the streets, and they still want to do the music shit. And at some point, you gotta let the street shit go if you really want to, because that's all that was. That's Dirk sliding for Vaughn. Like
That's game banging.
Yeah.
Game banging
that's what
101.
that was. The crazy part is they said his boy had a wire on for years around him, so they got all this like evidence that his man got for him because he was walking around with a wire on, and so it's a lot to that. So
Yeah,
it's
the
a lot
feds
to that.
once the
The more
feds,
careful
you know,
you gotta
it's
be.
Mm-hmm.
well, and the feds are, and this is a federal thing, so you know, like you said, they've been doing their homework. They got a really serious case, and you know, you got to just say to yourself, you're that big. You know, it's still a couple of things. One, you're that big. Two, the technology is so crazy that yes, your homie might be wearing a wire. There may be a wire everywhere that you go in the studio,
Yeah,
wherever. It's just too
Yeah.
easy now. You know,
it's a couple things to that. One, it's a whole lot easier to get away with that kind of shit when you're doing it within the confines of your own city. But when you start moving around the country, you putting yourself in a bad position. Secondly, I would not be surprised if this gets to become one of those situations where lyrics from songs become used in the conviction process. Because there's one of them dudes that you
yeah,
know, what you're saying can tie
yeah,
into some shit that's happened. You know what I mean?
right,
So
Yeah. I
do
right.
heard
not be
you talking
surprised. And I
about
wouldn't
that.
even be
Yeah.
shocked. I wouldn't be upset because
Mm-hmm.
listen,
Yep.
you just
Just
Yeah, no,
stupid.
you said it.
you
You
know what
can't,
I'm saying?
you
Like
can't do this. You can't do the streets,
Yeah.
and you know, I think like we talked about this before. Like, Chicago, Chicago, they just keep it too real, man. Chicago, they just keep it way too real. And everybody was so enamored by this whole drill scene when Chicago, when Chief Keef and them kind of started it and kind of, you know, all the sons that came up under that. Everybody just started to feel like, yo, we can just do this stuff on record and go out here and move around and
Right.
you know that gave birth to all the other ones and the Takashi 6 9s and all this stuff that were just running around doing stuff like, bro, you're on camera everywhere and you got mad people around you that's criminals.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. I don't understand it, man.
And the thing about it
Yeah.
is that
Oh.
people are going to always cover their own ass.
For
So
sure.
there's no loyalty. People are if people are facing a lifetime in prison, they will throw your ass under the bus in front of the train in a hot
Yeah.
second. And the thing is that people are smart enough now, and I use the word smart enough loosely, that in the very least they'll start recording everything. So just in case some shit goes down, either I can use this as leverage or you're coming down with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a different kind of snitch. It's a different kind of snitch now.
Right.
Everybody, see, the thing is that when you're dealing with a criminal element, there's no loyalty there. There's no, everybody's out for themselves. And if I don't know, in this case, it sounded as though they got the shooters.
Yeah, I mean, I believe the shooters are the ones who told they're the ones who kind of given up the goose on them.
Exactly, and that is my point.
Yeah,
you don't even need half of the wire stuff. If you once you've got the shooters and you can make like a case that there's no link between the shooters and the victim, and you can link the shooters to this person to the victim, you don't even need everything else. That's plenty right there for
well,
the
no,
government to put you away.
that's what you're describing is the state. The feds say we're gonna do that, and we're gonna have 3 other pieces. So you're really not gonna get that.
Because that wire stuff is the link. The wire stuff that is them tying everything together.
Crazy.
And that's
why they put a wire on somebody close to Dirk so they can get that information.
And they were saying about the guy that they put the wire on that I believe he was locked up for some time and he got out and Dirk helped him and all kinds of stuff. It's just like you said, y'all get no loyalty at all. I mean, that's just
if I'm facing a lifetime in prison, it's like, am I gonna go do this time in prison, or am I gonna snitch on you? I mean,
I once heard a rapper say, "We never talk about all the foul shit we did or we saw y'all police be getting y'all." Remember? I don't know if you remember that line. Somebody said that, and that's kind of what's happening right now.
That's your
like people
that's
talk
yours
too much
truly.
in rap.
That is a line that I wrote. You're absolutely right. And that was
like that's
long
what we
time
are
ago.
now. People talking, especially in their songs, on these podcasts and interviews. They'll go on and they'll say a little bit too much information, but you leave in a digital trail of everything that all your little incidents and moments that you did. You putting it all out there, and it's very easy to find this stuff.
People can't help themselves. I think. I think when they're doing this crazy shit, they're proud of it, and they kind of want to brag.
If we as listeners can figure out that you're talking about a certain situation, don't you think the feds can figure out you talk about this situation too?
They're not thinking about it that deep, though, B. They think they're being real clever.
Yeah, you're not. You're admitting to federal crimes that don't have statutes of limitations on record.
I think they feel like if they don't see me in person do it, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? It's like
I don't know. People think that they're invincible. They think they're untouchable. They think they got all this money and that's gonna save them. They got all these lawyers. They got this and that. But I just feel like these days,
man,
we're not in the days of O.J. Simpson anymore. If you had a dream team and he got off got away with a double murder, but we're not in those days no more.
Well, the whole thing
O.J. got away with it because the prosecution was a bunch of idiots. Like putting that glove in his hand was not smart.
That was not smart. Yeah,
that was not a smart. I'm not. Look, I can this don't fit. You know what I
But
mean?
we
Like, come
live,
on, bro. Like, you gonna
but
give me the
you gotta,
evidence?
people gotta understand. Like, we live in a time where before OJ there was no internet, so people don't understand like
Right.
such a big difference between stuff that happened before the internet became what it is prior to YouTube. You gotta remember, YouTube wasn't even around. YouTube came out in 2005. There was no
Crazy.
YouTube in the early 2000s.
Not
You
even
know what
20
I'm
years
saying?
old yet.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
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 So it's not even 20 years old yet. So when you think about committing a crime like that, putting money on someone's head, like that's gonna go wrong because there's just
You
too
got too many people.
many.
You got too many
There's
people
too
involved.
many people.
Yeah.
He would have
Mm-hmm.
been better off. He'd have had a better chance going to pull the trigger himself,
But
possibly,
yes, do it by yourself. Yep.
and
Yep.
just
No
dress
witnesses,
up,
no
try to shoot,
nothing.
and get away. He
Yep.
probably had a better chance than trying to pay somebody and do this elaborate
You
thing.
got
Like,
too many mouths.
Yep.
no,
All it takes is
no.
one person to spill the
Here's
beans.
another
Yep.
thing, too. They are tying like the plane tickets and all that stuff to like credit cards that are linked to like why didn't y'all just pay for this shit in cash? Y'all literally walk
Yeah.
around with like you do the cash on the phone ear thing. You have cash. Pay for this shit in cash. There is no link
Yeah,
to the credit cards at that
but
point.
when you
Yep.
start going up to the trying to buy a plane ticket, pulling out thousands of dollars.
Oh, well,
I mean, you can do it, but
You can do it.
it's a little
then
sketchy.
people
I know.
start looking at you crazy too. You know what I'm
They
saying?
There's
gonna look at
ways
you
around
crazy
that
anyway.
though. There's ways around that though. They didn't put a lot of thought into getting away with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
You could have
there's a way you could have did this
right. You could have
without
bought
it
gift cards. You
without
could
it
buy
linking back. Right.
prepaid credit card,
Yep.
something. They I just feel like they plan out these crimes, but they just have these lazy ways of doing things and don't put a lot of thought into it because I
No,
don't
it's
know
street.
what makes them
Nope.
think.
It's not lazy. It's just street level thinking. So
It's street
now,
level thinking. But the thing about street level thinking is it's one thing if you're trying to catch somebody and you on the west side of Chicago and you know they're gonna be downtown on Wednesday. That's
right?
one thing. But if you are now on the west side of Chicago and the op is in LA, you got to figure out now how to get to LA. You know what I mean? And get that it's more than you're capable of putting together. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. It
Like
takes it
'cause
takes a lot of logistics to
Yeah.
you're
get that
playing out
done.
of bounds now, right? Exactly.
Now,
So
I'm not saying. Now, I'm doing a disclaimer. I'm not saying that this is what I do or I think people should do. It's just hypothetical. So, hypothetically, you got to get away from we're gonna pull these guns and just shoot up somebody. If you're sophisticated, you start saying, you know what, I'm gonna put something in this drink. Now, when you're an enemy of different states, you never get shot. You end up getting something that's tasteless, not salty, it's not sweet. You on the ground shivering, and they think you had a heart attack, and by God, you die. You died of a stroke or a
Yeah.
heart attack.
Never
yeah,
level.
You
yeah,
Yeah.
never
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
That's
Fell
what
off a
they do
balcony in
now.
Argentina.
So you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
So so you got to get more sophisticated with this stuff if you want to do stuff like that. I don't think you should do it anyway, but I'm just saying that it ain't gonna work when you're trying to do this whole thing. But it's sad for him because, quite honestly, the guy he's trying to get retribution for is kind of like, bro, all you did now is you now ruined your life and everybody who you were helping, your whole family. All
Yeah.
that money that could be helping your family is now going to go to lawyers
Yep.
and maybe some other situation. I don't know. Mostly lawyers because they're going to get so much money. The
Oh
lawyers
yeah.
always win. And
Yeah.
then all the generation and people in your family and people around you could have been helping is now gone because you're trying to get back on one killing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It,
but
it just it doesn't even make any. The whole thing is just it's
it
just
is what it
foolish,
is, man.
total foolishness. I mean, what a waste,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just seems like one after another, like these rappers making these foolish decisions to do. I don't know, street justice or whatever you want to call it. It just seems so nonsensical. It's like, what are you doing?
Right.
I'm like,
Well,
you got these careers, you're finally making money, and you finally winning awards, you're finally doing what you set out to do, and you just gonna give it all away to go rot in a prison,
Yeah.
That's
and
it.
for
Yeah.
what?
You end up in a place where you end up in a situation where you was trying to get out of from the very beginning, because all
Yeah.
them guys
Yeah.
they was already in the street anyway, and they was already, based on the life they was living, they was going to end up in jail anyway or dead. So it's unfortunate, but I don't know. Sometimes you can't change people unless they just, I don't know. I think sometimes you got to really move and you got to change friends, and that'd be the biggest part of it, is changing who you're around. Because
Yeah.
as long as you
This
around
didn't even
people,
really need to happen, though. You know what I mean? You think that this person killed another person. If they really did kill this person, eventually they would get justice, wouldn't they? I mean,
Mm.
I mean, yeah and no, but it's just, at the end of the day, you got to say to yourself, I got to move on, because it's just like anything else. If you trying to gang bang or whatever it is, you gonna kill somebody, they gonna kill somebody. You gonna kill somebody, they gonna kill. It got to end at some point.
cycle.
You got to
Yeah.
move on with your life. So,
Mm.
but let's talk about this criminal justice. So, all right, so criminal justice is such a huge topic, right? So I want to hit it on in a couple of ways. Now, Twin had brought to my attention about a guy who was executed in Missouri. So this guy was executed. Might have been a month ago now.
September 24th, I think.
Marcellus
Yeah, about a
Williams.
month. Yeah,
Yeah,
Marcellus
about a
Williams.
month ago, he was executed. So he was convicted of killing a woman in Missouri in 1981. I believe the crime happened, or
But it
1980.
was in the
No, excuse me,
90s.
1996. My bad. 1996, I believe it happened, and he was convicted. He was on death row for a long time, and he had a few stays. But even before we get into his case, so a couple of things I wanted to touch on, you know, criminal justice from the standpoint of the sentences that black men get, and black women for that matter, versus their counterparts, and then also the relationship we have with police and stuff like that. So before we even deal with that, the death penalty. So do y'all feel like the death penalty should be just abolished altogether? Because it's interesting. Depending on the position you're coming from, what do y'all think?
It is a very, very difficult
Mm.
subject for me.
Well, I know you're on it. Let B and
Okay,
Gina hit it, and now then you hit it, Twin.
no doubt, no doubt,
I want to see where they coming from with it.
To
no
abolish the
doubt.
death penalty altogether, I would say no.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with the death penalty. But I think we should make sure we do our due diligence on who we're sentencing to death before we do that. And I think that punishment should definitely fit the crime. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't think it should be done away with at all. I think it in some cases I can see it. I'm okay with it. So
Mhm.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said. I think it should stay in place. People do some horrendous crimes out here. You're out here taking lives, and like you said, if the evidence is there and everything is proven and it's all factual, then
Mhm.
yeah,
yeah,
you deserve it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're
Yeah.
taking lives out here. No, no, you don't deserve to just live your life. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No,
Yeah. I agree.
no.
What you think, Twin?
Well, I have I have mixed feelings about it. To be completely honest, I feel like for certain crimes, I think that the death penalty is appropriate, especially when we're talking about crimes against children. I'm very passionate about that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think that we do need to be very careful about um, who we give it to, and I think that if there's any kind of doubt, like serious doubt about a person's innocence, I really think that should be taken in very seriously. I think that DNA testing should be absolutely mandatory, and it's not. And I think that in a lot of cases, the people who are exonerated, they had to fight for 20, 30 years to get DNA tested.
Oh, it froze
And
up, twin.
for all this time, prosecutors will argue back and forth in court to stop it from being tested, which doesn't make sense to me, because if there's evidence that could, prove a person's innocence, why do we want to stop that just to hold up the integrity of a conviction? It just doesn't make sense. So I'm not. It's just weird because in some cases it's like, man, I really don't think this person should be executed, but then there are cases where, yeah, kill their ass. That's how I feel. I mean,
Right.
Well,
I
it's
to be
difficult.
100% honest.
Yeah.
It's difficult though too because I think there's a lot of states that got rid of the death penalty. Like Illinois, for instance, got rid of the death penalty at some point.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not sure of all the other states. I believe New Jersey does not have the death penalty. I don't believe so. I could be wrong,
New
but
York
um,
does not have the death penalty
and New
anymore, I
York
believe.
doesn't have it either.
Mm-mm.
So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, some people would say, okay, we should get rid of the death penalty, and then it's like somebody kills somebody in your family. You like, yo, you know,
Right.
he gotta
Yeah.
go. He or she gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree. I think that we should really, really know, you know what I'm saying, as far as definitive proof.
Yeah.
Right.
But what seems to happen a lot of times with these older cases is that they come out later with DNA and they start to see holes in certain cases or issues with the jury or issues with evidence that wasn't brought forth to the jury and stuff like that. And the dangerous thing is that the system is never perfect, but you don't want somebody to be executed and find out after the fact that there was this little piece that was wrong.
Right.
And apparently, with this case with Marcellus Williams, so I will play a little bit of it because I don't know the case like the back of my hand, but from what I understand, before he was executed, because he had a few stays, I believe in 2015, 2017, but crazy thing is that obviously his lawyers didn't want him to get executed. But from what I understand, even the prosecutors, the people who
Yeah.
prosecuted him was like, don't do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then the victim's family
Yes.
wanted it to be commuted to life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I haven't seen that before where the victim is like, no, don't kill him.
Everybody's saying, don't kill
And
him.
Everybody's like, don't kill him.
Right.
that should be taken into account, and that should be
Yes.
considered before we, you know what I mean? If everybody is saying don't do this,
Mm-hmm.
including the people who put him in jail, then
Yeah.
why are we doing it? What's
Yeah.
who,
Well,
why are we upholding that in that point?
Right.
So,
and here's the
Exactly.
scary thing about it. Now, he was granted clemency. Clemency is granted by the parole board, right? You go before the parole board, and they recommend clemency, and it has to be signed off on by the governor.
Yeah.
Now, he got executed because the governor did not sign off on the clemency order.
Mm-hmm.
That is really terrifying to think that now, even though you've gone through the whole process and clemency is granted in so few cases, most
Yeah.
parole and clemency boards, they deny clemency. It never gets
Yeah.
past that stage.
Yeah.
And typically, once you are recommended for clemency, usually the governor signs off and your sentence is commuted. But now your life is in the hands of one person. Forget what the judge said, forget the prosecutors, forget the family, forget the clemency board.
Mm.
That's
But now
crazy.
this man is dead
Yeah.
because one person would not sign a document.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. And I really feel like something in that process alone has got to change.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna play.
Ugh.
I'm gonna play this video now. So I want to play the video. This goes back to 2017. Um, I'm just gonna play a quick piece. This is from his lawyer. So this is the reason why they have been trying to get stays, and I don't know if they're trying to get a new trial, but I guess like you said, Twin, they apparently went for clemency. But I'm gonna just play a quick piece of this right here.
And in just the last hour, Missouri executed a death row inmate named Marcellus Williams by lethal injection. Now, Williams was put to death over the 1998 murder of newspaper reporter Felicia Gale, and the execution coming hours after the U.S. Supreme Court denied a stay of execution, just a day after the state's governor and the Supreme Court both denied clemency to Williams as well. And all this after a prosecutor from the original trial said Williams was innocent, claiming no evidence actually tied him to the crime. Williams' execution was one of 5 scheduled in the course of a week across the country, the first one being Freddie Owens in South Carolina this past Friday. NBC's Yasmin Vasuki has been following this story. Yasmin, can you tell us the latest here?
That's right, Gotti. The third in Missouri this year, the 100th execution in the state since executions were reinstated back in 1989. 5, by the way, in this week alone across the country. We're talking about Missouri, in which Mr. Williams was executed just a couple of hours ago by lethal injection. Alabama as well, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas. The timing of it all, right? You ask, why are all 5 of these executions happening in this week alone, is really just happenstance in the decision-making process by some of these kind of state Supreme Courts. I will say, though, the argument that was being made by Mr. Williams' attorneys to the Supreme Court to, in fact, stay this execution was waiting to a decision till a decision was made by a similar case as they saw it that was going to be argued in front of the U.S. Supreme Court on October 9th. A statement that was made by the Innocence Project saying this, and I quote, "This closely resembles that of Richard Glossop, who remains on death row in Oklahoma because the state court similarly refused to accept the state's confession of error." If you remember, just yesterday, the state Supreme Court in Missouri essentially did not accept the prosecuting office's admission of possible error in Mr. Williams' case, hence why we are here today. Mr. Williams losing his life to execution by lethal injection just a couple of hours ago.
This is crazy. So the actual prosecution admitted to some error, possible error.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Prosecutor said we might have fucked up. They were like, nah, you good.
You good.
Like, that's
Right.
insane.
But the thing is,
Basically,
the governor, what was his reasoning for not approving it? That's what I'm trying to figure out. With
that
all
I
of this
haven't read
coming
too much
forward,
into yet. I don't know.
I mean,
That's so scary to think of.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've
I
never
don't
seen a
understand.
situation where, and maybe there are the cases, but I never saw something where the
Mm,
prosecution, because usually the prosecutor,
yeah.
they will go to their grave being like, nah, the evidence is good. They received, the defense
Right.
received everything in discovery, and they, went
Mm-hmm.
through all the evidence, and we have no doubt. I mean, a lot of times the prosecution, even after someone gets out, and
Mm-hmm.
they're given clemency or a new trial or whatever, the prosecutor will still be like, no, I still believe he was innocent. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm like,
Yeah.
obviously the person wasn't, but
Sheesh.
you know,
Mm.
it's
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 just
Yeah,
it's
that's
it's
something
wild.
else.
terrifying to
No.
think that your life could be in one person's hands who doesn't want to spare your life for political reasons, to to show that you're tough on crime, to
Mm.
satisfy a political party. I mean, it just doesn't make sense that you have all of these people saying, hey, wait a minute, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
The prosecutor is saying, you know what, there isn't actually any evidence that ties him to this crime. So now then what are we doing here?
Well, you know what, and I believe it was some DNA evidence. So what I was looking at, I think it was this one. This is the one that I saw. This was back in 2017, where I guess his lawyer was talking about the evidence.
And finally, in 2015, we succeeded.
Can you guys hear that? Is it too low?
No, it's good.
I can hear
Nah, I
you.
hear it.
Okay. I just want to play a little bit of the lawyer.
Weigh in here in Marcellus Williams' case and his stay of execution.
Well, thank you for having me. I've been representing Marcellus for about 12 years now, and we've been trying to get new DNA testing during that entire time. And finally, in 2015, we succeeded in doing that. And through the new technique called touch DNA, a DNA profile was developed on the knife handle, and it matched, it was an unknown male, but it did not match Marcellus Williams' DNA.
Now, He has been in jail for, what, 17 years about? How come this just came out on the day that he was going to be executed?
Damn.
Well, we had the results, and we tried to get a stay from the Missouri Supreme Court, who summarily denied it, so we could get a court hearing, because we've never gotten a court hearing to have a trial judge or any other judge evaluate whether the DNA is sufficiently exonerating to warrant a new trial. And the case was in the United States Supreme Court when the governor stayed the execution and appointed a board of inquiry, which he has the right to do under Missouri law, to review the facts and make a recommendation to him as to what he ought to do as far as.
So that was apparently that was in 2017. So that was what almost 8 years ago, when they were talking about they did some DNA evidence, and the DNA linked to someone else. So I don't even understand why he was executed, but I think for me, I was looking at this and I was saying, part of what I wanted to talk about tonight was like, obviously there's a difference between black people and white people when it comes to sentences. Um, I'm gonna play something in a little while about the differences. They talk about how the sentences are always longer. It's harder to get bail. And the same crimes, when they take the same crimes from a white man and a black man, it's typically longer. We usually get a couple years longer for the same crime. So, so I mean, for that reason, I'm kind of like, man, the death penalty is dangerous for that point, because if that's your son or your uncle or your brother or somebody on death row, you kind of like, yo, all this stuff is available to say something about the decision y'all made, and y'all still like, nah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I think that what trips me out, I don't know if y'all ever thought about this. I like to watch a lot of crime shows, and I love watching stuff on serial killers. And when I watch, I'm like, yo, certain serial killers, they get away with so much. Just for an example, there's a guy called, have you ever heard of the dating game killer? This guy named Richard Akala. So the dating game killer, yeah, he was all in that same in the 70s. I don't know what it was about the 70s, but it's like all these serial killers was
There were a
all.
lot. Yeah.
But thank God we were not like running around in the 70s as adults. I mean, I don't know how people survived. It was like Ted Bundy, the son of Sam, Richard Akala,
Yeah.
Ted Bundy,
John. What's the
Yeah.
guy from Chicago?
Casey.
John Wayne
John
Gacy.
Wayne Gacy. Yeah.
All of them
Richard
participated.
Speck. Don't forget him. Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Uh,
All these
Ted
Well,
serial
that's
killers.
Bundy.
that's the '90s, sir.
No, you know what? I thought that too, until if you ever watched the Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix, we found out about Jeffrey Dahmer in the 90s. But when you watch the movie, he started killing in 1971.
Yeah. He had his.
oh yes,
All right,
you're
I got you.
right.
He
All right.
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
didn't get his shine until the 90s, but he
Oh
was
God.
killing all through that time too. But
Yeah.
point being, this the dating game killer guy. So, and this isn't like unique. The dating game killer guy started off, he had like almost killed this 8-year-old girl in 1969. Now the parents didn't want to testify, so he beat her with a pole. She was lucky that she was alive. So he ended up getting probation or whatever. And then he committed another crime, the point is, a lot of these serial killers, the white guys, Jeffrey Ted Bundy, a lot of these guys, it wasn't like they committed one crime. These guys committed multiple crimes before they ever got to the point where they were like this guy Marcellus Williams, put to death. They committed multiple crimes, and my point is, like, I think they view black people more harshly when it comes to the system. They just view us
Oh,
differently. So
absolutely.
it's like it's more heavy handed, and I'm just like, I don't know if y'all noticed that when you look at certain killers, I'm like, yo, how did they even get to the point where they was killing that many people?
I mean,
And it's not, and like I said, they didn't get caught
Well, I think
after
it
they killed
comes.
so many people. They got caught on murder one or murder two or attempted
yeah.
murder one or two, and was able to get out. And I never seen that happen with black men. Black men, if you do attempt murder, you gonna do damn near life.
Well, I think that at least in those cases, I think there's a lot of factors involved. The time frame in the 70s, 60s, even in the 80s, technology was a lot different.
Yeah.
There wasn't a large database. Departments didn't communicate with one another.
And there wasn't DNA.
It wasn't DNA, so people were able to get away with stuff a whole lot quicker. But also, then you have to go back to the whole white privilege thing, which has been going on for centuries. If you're a white guy and you look, like you look like a pretty decent guy, you look harmless. They're gonna let you out. They're gonna give you bail. They're gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. And especially back in those days, that was the days that they was really still calling us nigga to our face and calling y'all boy and and all that kind of stuff. So they wanted to throw the book at you, damn near for no reason.
But you know what though? But a lot of those crimes though, to be honest with you, Twin, is like a lot of those. So just to your point, we got a lot of people like I know many people who've had uncles locked up since the 80s. Not going back that far, going back to maybe the 80s, and were in jail for long periods of time just for drugs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In comparison to some of the crimes. So it really is a problem in that
sentences
perspective.
handed down to blacks is twice as hard as it is sentenced to whites or Hispanics comparatively.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a fact that's still happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Like I always, my thing is this. Like, and I also want to talk about the whole relationship to police because it all starts with police too. How police, right? So my thing is like when it comes to police, I try not to have no interaction with the police. And I haven't had many bad interactions with police. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that when you interact with the police, I think you have to make sure you don't make things worse because 9 times out of 10, they are going to whatever they're gonna do is gonna be harsh. If they gotta discipline you or restrain you or whatever you want to call it, it's gonna be pretty
Yeah.
harsh. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the charges, I've seen a lot of I like to watch these videos where, there's different arrests and I see people I don't know, I get a kick out of watching people turn small situations into something big. It might be like a shoplifter or something like that. And she feel or a domestic situation. And a lot of times, no disrespect to the women, but a lot of times women feel like they could get away with a lot more because they feel
Mm-hmm.
they be spitting in the cop's face or punching the cop, and then next thing you know, you got assault on the cop.
Yeah.
So
I think too, you just touched on something because especially when dealing with police, a lot of times we'll escalate the situation way worse than it has to be. And that comes from our fear of what could happen with the police. But we have to also understand that that cop in that uniform might have his own preconceived, his thoughts on what you are as a black person. And you might be amplifying those thoughts the minute you escalate it. You know what I mean? So now
right,
he's on edge. And
right,
that's never going to end well. Now he wants to play the power role, and now you're trying. Now we just going. We're doing this,
right,
and it's because nobody's really. It's because everybody's scared. They're scared of you know what I'm saying. What they think you are as a black person, you're scared of what they can do as police, and now there's no backing down. And we
right.
do that to ourselves a lot of times. I was actually in a car one time with a girl, to your point, Sue, about women escalating it. And we were pulled over, and I'm trying to talk to the cop, and she's in the passenger side going like, no, but why? Would you stop? like, like he's looking at me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if something
Yeah,
happened, I'm going to be the one that gets it.
I need to speak up though because a
I'm
lot
not
of
saying all women do that. I'm just saying that
a lot of
that
times
happens.
men, y'all have these egos and want to start having these pissing contests, and now all of a sudden now becomes well, you can't, you want to show whose thing is bigger, and it's just ridiculous.
That's
I
what I'm just
watched
talking
all
about.
those
I'm talking about
videos
like
too.
there's
A
Right.
a
lot
level
of
of fear
y'all,
from the cop side and from the
I
I don't want
don't
to say perpetrator,
I
but from the other party side too, and both parties are scared of
I
each
agree
other.
with
And
you. Yeah, I agree with you on the fear part, but there is
but
also
you
a
interpret that as
lot
a
of
pissing contest.
situations.
You interpret that as like we're gonna see
No,
who
but
going back down for
it's
it.
not
It's not
always
necessarily that.
fear though, B. It's not always fear. A lot of times it's just flat out ego.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
gotta
going
agree
to
with that
be,
though.
I'm going to show you
Mhm.
who's the bigger man here. You ain't going to talk to me
Talk
like
to me.
that. And a lot
Yeah.
of
I think
times,
that
all of that
comes
is
from
not
Right.
okay.
fear.
All
The
right,
fear,
No,
all
you're
right.
right, B.
because
She
think
right,
about
B.
it.
I think she right. Because I
Fear,
think
fear does not always manifest itself as ego-driven pissing contests. Okay, fear sometimes manifests itself as backing down and cowering into a corner and yes sir, no sir.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
yeah,
just
she
ego.
right.
It's
There are
just
some
ego.
men who
It's just
really do
I'm
that.
this cop is an asshole, so I'm gonna be an asshole, and now we're gonna see who's all gonna be the biggest assholes here, and now we're gonna butt heads, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen.
Right.
And to be fair, women do this. There are a lot of women who do the same thing too. They start feeling their egos, and they start feeling like, well, I'm going to talk to you crazy, and and there's many times when you look at it, there's really no need for it because there's a lot of times where the cop is not even not
When he
turning
turned
up,
up like that.
not escalating, not being disrespectful. He being real calm. As a matter of fact, I was watching something night before last or something like that, and the cop is just like being real, just chill, real calm, and this lady is just going off. I mean, she just was batshit crazy to me,
No,
but
there's a
it's just
lot of video like that. I
Yeah.
see more of that with women nowadays than men. But I think men understand the repercussions are a little bit more, and women get away with a little bit more. Cops will let a woman get away with a little bit more. But I will say this: they don't. I will say this: they don't let the black women get away with as much as the white women. I've seen some
Right.
stuff white women have done
This is true.
for
Yeah.
black women. They will slam you on your head.
Oh yes.
A lot of cops will slam a black woman on their head
Yep.
quickly, or they'll tase you or mace you a
Mhm.
lot quicker. But
Yep.
just in general, like you said, to your point, there's a lot of times the cops, and I say this, like I be looking at cops and I'm like, I be I actually feel for a lot of cops too, because I think a lot of times the popular attitude is to be like, oh, cops are this and cops are bad, and most cops I think are good, and I think most cops are just regular people trying to do their job. You know what I'm saying? They don't
Right.
make a lot of money either. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
they go through a lot. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with people. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to give you a ticket. I do not want to be like, if I was a cop, I'd be like, yo, I'm just trying to give you this ticket. Just shut the fuck up and take this ticket and get
Right.
out of here. I don't want to argue with you. But
Right,
why you putting me over? It's like, yo, you're doing too much. And then
right.
Mhm.
then there's a part of me that's like, I couldn't be a cop because I probably would whoop your ass. I'm just being honest
Like,
though.
oops, the body camera's off. What
Yeah,
happened?
oh, right. Now,
Right.
Gina, you ever yell at a cop?
Huh?
I said you ever curse out a cop?
No.
No, I
I've
know that's
never
not your
cursed out a
style.
cop. No. No, I'm like really cautious, if I'm ever pulled over or whatever. And I'll just to lead back to what everyone was kind of saying, like, even as a mom of a young black young male, like from him growing up, it's like instilled in us, like, okay, if a cop pulls you over, you better stay still, keep your hand on the wheel and don't move, wait till they come. It's just so much that we as a people have to go through compared to white people. They're not growing
Yeah.
up thinking about that or being taught that by their mom. You know what I mean? Like,
There's a
it's
different
just a
talk we have to
whole
give our
different.
kids than what they have to get theirs.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
definitely. And it's awful that we have to go through that, and it's just the cycle just has not stopped with that. I don't. It's never gonna stop. It's just
Well,
never gonna stop.
let me ask y'all. Do y'all think even and this is to pivot this conversation out even more? Um, do y'all think that even cops that look like y'all, cops that look like us, do they even deal with black people harsher? Is there something that you feel that people, you know, people, the cops feel when they're dealing with the public? Is there something that they feel like, okay, th- is there like a defense? Is they feel like, oh, this black person is going to be more defensive towards me as a cop, so I got to turn it up on them even a little bit more? Or do you feel like,
It just
not?
depends,
Ooh,
honestly.
I,
that's a tricky
I've
one.
I
encountered
think there
some.
are some like that. It depends on the
Yeah,
individual, though.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because you got people who, you know what I mean, like, some, you got some cops who are like, you're a cop now, but you got like bullied in high school and picked on, and now you're, you know what I mean, like, now that you're in a position of power, now you don't, you know what I mean, you might try to take that out on people. So it depends, and not everyone's like that. I'm just saying that there are people
Right.
who take advantage, or they'll see somebody else like and kind of now they have extra aggression where
Hmm.
it's not warranted. So that does happen,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But yeah, it happens. But not all of them are like that.
Not necessarily.
Hmm.
Well, when you
The
look at the
problem
whole
is we don't
criminal,
know who is like that. When we don't know which
well,
one
you
we
don't
get
know till you encounter them.
until you encounter them, right?
True.
So
Yeah. Well, when you look at the whole system, if you look at it from the beginning of the cop to the court to the prisons, when you look at all of it tends to treat black people a little bit harsher when you look at it. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
you know, the other thing, I'm pivoting back to prison for a second. So the other thing is that it's a tough thing because it costs a lot of money to house prisoners, right?
Hmm.
I was looking at California, the cost in California. I always like to look at the most expensive states too. So California, it costs to house a prisoner or an inmate, it costs $132,000. Um, I assume this is yearly to house a prisoner. So, and then the average prisoner is paid, from what I read, between a dollar and a dollar and $7 a day to do work. You know what I'm saying? So the question is, and again, we represent black people, we represent about 12, 13%, 14% of the population. But for prison, we about half, right? So I always say that there's a couple things about the criminal justice system as regards to prison. I don't think they ever should have been privatized because I think that that's wrong. Um, because I think at the end of the day, we all know it's kind of like slave labor. You get people
hmm
into prison, and then you can work for nothing. You know what I'm saying? And they're privatized, so they got prisoners doing all kind of work. You know, um, I saw something. It was a couple weeks ago. I saw a program where these inmates they have these work release programs. I didn't even know this happened. Maybe y'all know. There's prisoners where they're in jail, they have work release, so they can go and work at like a Wendy's or go work at McDonald's or whatever, and they go and work. You know what I'm saying? And they work as much as the restaurant calls them to work. So some of these inmates they'll be working like 6 days a week, long shifts, working at McDonald's or some of these other fast food places. And then, um, and this is I guess this might be for low risk prisoners because I believe these prisoners, they can go and work. And then some of them sometimes I don't know if they can go home on the weekend and come back. But anyway, point is they're able to go out to somewhere to go work and they're not being monitored per se. So that's low risk, right? They're not going to let a killer go work and do the fries. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they would call these, so they were on call. They didn't get to choose when they go work. The restaurants would be like, oh, I need so and so. I need BA to come and work today. I need BA to work tomorrow and Thursday and Friday, and all this. And you might get one day off. Now you can't refuse, from what I understood, you can't refuse to work. Like when they call you, you got to go work them hours.
You're
And
indentured servant.
That's
right. And then the kicker is the prison takes about half of the check. You know what I'm saying? So you get to
Yeah.
keep half of your check, but these prisoners was talking about. This one woman was talking about, I'm tired of working there because I go work and I work like 6 days a week, and after they bust down that check, they take half of it. You got about $200, and you didn't work 80 hours or something crazy. You know, so she was like, I think it was a guy. He was like, I'd rather just not work. But once you accepted into that program, you can't decide you're not going to work or whatever. So
Right.
it's just,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So the question is there a better way for prisoners to, is there a better way to use those resources for prisoners? Like, do you think prisoners should be getting paid more, or is there something else we can do with prisoners? Because I got some ideas, but I just want to see what everybody else got to say. Because I got some ideas.
Something else we can do with them, like you
Yeah,
need
I
to
got a
give
good.
them.
Listen, I got a good idea right now. I'll tell you. I'll tell you after y'all spit what y'all think.
I don't know. I mean, in Texas, for example, it costs an average of $77.49 a day to house the prisoners, which is about 28,000 a year to house a prisoner in Texas. So
Okay.
if you kept someone in prison for 30 years, it's $848,000 in and a half, basically, to keep someone in prison for 30 years versus
Okay.
execution, which would be in the millions. Um, I think that I mean, depending on the crime, I guess I don't know. I don't know if they should be. I don't know. I guess they figure they're earning their keep. I mean, in certain states, there's still prison farms where they're able to grow their own food or do work, do industry work, because there's a lot of goods that come out of or products rather, as a better term, that come from prison labor. There's
Mm-hmm.
certain ones that make jeans. I've heard in I don't know if it's Louisiana or Arkansas, one of those states that a lot of them um, do butcher work with the beef and meat and stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I think if it were public money and it could help give back some of the money that the taxpayers are spending to house the prisoners, I think that it would be worthwhile. But when you're talking about the privatization of prisons and they're just making for profit off of these prisoners, there's something that just seems kind of nefarious about that. There's something that's reminiscent of plantation life and slavery with that. I mean, I don't know,
There
because
you
if that
go.
money's not going back to the
Well,
taxpayers, then
Mm-hmm.
the I don't have my tablet in front of me, so I can't read it word for word. But I believe in the 13th Amendment, when they abolished slavery, it says except in cases of like prison, or it's something to the wording in
Mm-hmm.
there where it's still like they can
Mm-hmm.
still use you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, um,
Yep.
so I think we never really got past that. What you just described, those two, is that's literally just indentured servitude. We're gonna make you go do this work until we tell you can't work. No, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you even got 200 of that is amazing, because what you say, prisoners make about $1 to 7 cents per day, or
For
$1 to
like
$7 per day.
little prison jobs, yeah, they'll get like
Yeah.
a
So
dollar, something $7 a day or something like that. But
Yeah.
that's on
so
the high
they're
end too.
literally just outright using people, and
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing stopping them from doing that. To be honest with you. Um, So I don't know in terms of what we can do with prisons. I don't know. I don't know if I have that answer. Um,
No,
but yeah, I don't know, man. This is a tough one.
that
So
is that is a tough
well,
one.
we shouldn't have had no. Gee, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that is
I
a
was going
tough
to say
one.
something ignorant.
It, it is tough because it's like, okay, if it's a low level crime and they're out in the public just working, I guess, what, trying to get them acclimated again to being, around people and living a normal life, but they're still not living a normal life. How are they going to make a decent living, if they're still having to have that check cut in half? Like, who can live,
Right.
who can live like that?
Well, they
Where
figure that you don't have to because you're going back to the prison to eat and sleep and shower.
Yeah, you're not paying rent. You don't need
So
this.
they
You know what I
figure
mean?
you
That's
don't really need
true.
to make
But
them
don't you also have to pay for your
yeah,
commissary and all that stuff too? Like,
That's why I gave you
That's
$200.
yeah, right.
Right.
I was gonna say your commissary is
He's
that
like, all
last
your
half,
money's
that
gonna
last
go
two hundred
back
dollars.
to being
that you
cool.
cover it.
How many
The big
flaming
cycle.
hots can you buy? You know?
Right.
That last
That
$200 you got.
$200 is only one order. That's only
Yeah,
one order for the month because everything in
Hey,
the commissary is so expensive.
then
yeah,
get your ass back to work.
yeah,
Right.
That is some
yeah.
Big
pimp
cycle.
stuff, man. I'm telling you. They be pimping. No, this is why I think though. I
Very.
think that for like the serious crimes, you should
Mm-hmm.
just have to go fight in war. You know what I'm saying? Like you should just have to go be a soldier. You
Oh
Mm.
know
hell no.
Oh man.
That's not
why?
gonna work.
You know
Why?
what?
I mean, you
I
know
thought
what? I kind of agree with
How
that
Am I
you
on to
how
something?
you
I'm
because
on to
gonna give
something.
him you
people
gonna
want to
get him
go.
a weapon to
People
go
want to
fight
do
in
thank
the
you.
beat
That
'em up,
part.
bang bang in the street out here. You go
Nope.
across the seas where they really about that life with shooting
Here's
Right.
the
up and bang
problem.
banging.
Here's the
Like,
problem. And y'all just
Tell him
touched on it.
G. Tell him
You
G.
can't give seasoned like hardened killers AK-47s and say, hey, go point it just at them. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Wait. So let's be hypothetical here. So let's say you have hardened criminals, right? Hardened criminals who did the crime.
Yeah.
So could we transform them into soldiers? You don't think it would be possible to transform them into soldiers?
What science fiction movie have you been watching? I
No.
mean, are they doing some kind of
I'm
brain
saying,
experiments
No.
or
no.
something?
Listen, think about it. Think about it.
No.
You got do no. Okay, I'm gonna give you. Okay. I left out a piece. This is what might make it feasible or possible. So you got people in jail who are constantly. First of all, they get in jail. All the hardened criminals, game bangers, they click up. They get their shanks ready. They be ready
Yeah.
for war on the yard anyway. You know what I'm saying? They live that way anyway. Now, here's where you change it for them, right? Now, instead of spending all that bread on them staying in prison, if you offer some of these criminals money, you say, "Look, we're gonna train you a little bit. You're gonna get this gun, and you're gonna get paid to go fight." Now, if you don't fight, now if you do fight, this is what you're gonna get. The benefit or the incentive is money. We're gonna make sure we give you the certain amount of money to be a soldier and do this thing. You know what I'm saying? Whatever our mission is, to be part of the army, armed forces, whatever it is. This is your chance. Now, if you complete this mission, you can be out of jail, you can be free, you can do what you gotta do. We're gonna train you. Now, now
So
look,
you
now disclaimer. This is not for the Ted Bundys and the Jeffrey Dahmers and all those people. This is for like
the
I
shooters
hate the word.
that Dirk hired. That's what you
they're-
this is for
Yes,
them.
exactly. There you go. This is for the guy. This is for the guy who Little Dirk hired. The guy that Little Dirk hired, instead of him planning this botched, non-logistical,
No.
ridiculous shit, he could go be a soldier
Nope.
somewhere, get paid,
Nope.
and live his life.
Nope.
I
Because
mean,
you're training killers to be better killers.
That's
That's
what
what
we
you're
do
saying.
anyway.
but wait now.
So then when I get released from this army position that I'm in, I'm going back to the hood with more skills. Like you think I'm
But see,
finna
okay, that's the part that I'm saying. Okay, we can put them on the front line, but I don't know about letting them out. Maybe they can get money, but they can't get out.
No. Well, see, Gina, I'm gonna tell you why that's not gonna work. Because if you say, okay, we're gonna have you go to war and do all this stuff, and we're gonna give you $100,000, but you gotta take your black ass back to prison where you can't do shit with that money.
Okay.
that that's gonna go all
nope.
the way left. Because you know what they're gonna say? They're gonna be like, all right, cool. They're gonna
Mhm.
go, they're gonna shoot up the enemy, and then be like,
Mhm.
well, do I want this money or do I want to be free? So now I'm gonna shoot up my whole company and I'm gonna run off with the guns and whatever else I can get my hands on so I can go be free.
That could, yeah.
I mean,
They could
Yeah.
do that. They could do that.
freedom is a lot more valuable than money because it's
That's
like if
true.
I can get free, I get some money. But
Yeah.
what am I going to do in prison with this money? What the hell am I going
Okay.
to do with this? There's only so many Snicker bars and honey buns that I can
And
buy.
noodles.
That for
Wait.
And noodles
Okay.
that I
So
can
let's do
get.
this. Let's do
I
the
mean,
math.
that shit gets
So
old
we'll
after a
use the
while.
Texas. We'll use the Texas numbers, right? Let's use the Texas number. We said it's $75 a day times 365 days a year is about $28,000 a year, right?
Mhm.
So let's say somebody has 10 years in jail. It's going to cost roughly 280,000. Let's round it up to 300,000. So you say, look, dude,
Okay.
it costs us $300,000 for you to do this bid in 10 years. I got a deal for you. Instead of us spending the 300,000, we're going to give you $300,000 and you could go be in the army or the Air Force or something for 5 years for half of your bid. If you complete that mission, if you complete it, we'll give you the 300,000 and you get the rest of your time off. It's a good deal. It's a damn good
I
deal.
mean,
Think about it.
it might appeal to certain individuals that you could.
Now I'm not saying you give it to
You might
everybody. I didn't say everybody. You got to
now.
evaluate them individuals.
Right. I think it would appeal to a certain type of person who already wanted to be rehabilitated and do something for their family. It would appeal
No,
to the father
no,
who's got
not
kids
no,
out
no, no.
there.
You try to you creating this best case scenario thing. Those people exist. I ain't talking about them. I'm talking about the people who are rogue and they thinking about is I gotta survive on this yard. Who I'm gonna stab up. So you got
You
10
can't
years.
give them
10 years,
guns.
huh?
You
You
can't
can't
give
give
them
them people
anything.
guns.
You can't. You sure as hell
Yeah.
can't set them free
No, but
with
look.
weapons.
So you have the people who just crazy, but I'm talking about. Okay, let's look. Let's take a step back. Most game bangers, people who just game banging in the street, I don't think most people like that are serial killers. Most people like that, all those little Dirks and all them people, and all the whole, we all know what it is. All the street dudes. The street dudes are not serial killers. They like really
But they ain't
survivalists.
patriots either. They ain't finna go fight for the country.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They not, but I'm saying if we give them an option, I'm suggesting. I'm trying to change. I'm giving a revolutionary idea here. I'm saying that okay, they could utilize the street dudes for something else than making license plates and jeans and couch covers or whatever. You can say, all right, you a street dude. You got 10 years. You got 15 years.
I
What I'm gonna
think
do? I'm
no.
gonna cut your joint.
I
I'm gonna
don't. I
cut your
don't.
thing in
I just
half.
don't
I'm
think
gonna
that
cut
they.
this sentence in half. It
I don't.
well,
I think that's going to go left pretty quickly. I really do. I think that's going to be a disaster from the beginning.
All right.
I
Look
think
at it this way.
before they even
Look
make
at
it
it this
over
way.
there, I
Look at
have
it this way.
visions of the movie Con Air. Did any of y'all see Con Air?
yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of. I feel like
Right,
that's the situation you're going
because
to
here's
be
what
in.
the thing. Here's what the thing. You, I go to jail on some murder shit, right? You give me your deal and say, hey, here's the situation. Here's this amount of dollars. We'll take this off your sentence. Just go fight for us. We'll train you even more, right? So I go to training. You teach me how to use all your weapons. What's stopping me from turning the weapon on you? Why would I not?
Okay, so this
Okay,
is why I
that's
say. So
true.
there's nothing to stopping you, but I think you'd have to choose. You couldn't choose. Well, obviously you couldn't choose the people who have the really small crimes because they wouldn't have a lot of time. There'd be no benefit to doing it. And you might have to choose the people who, because again, you got a lot of people in the prison population who are yes, they are considered hardened criminals because they committed a murder, but someone who's like a serial killer who just likes to kill is different than somebody who did like a drive-by shooting. Someone might have done a drive-by shooting, killed somebody, and they're gonna be sitting for 25 years. You know what I'm saying? And they're not really killers. They don't really want to kill. They did a killing. Now they're sitting. So if you got to sit for 25 years, if they got this 25 year to life, right?
All right.
Okay, boom. You got 25 years, my man. Here's an option though. I'll give you 7 years and I'm going to give you some money where you will get paid at the end of this 7 years to serve in the country. Because what they doing now, and the only reason why I'm saying this, is they actually making people serve the country now, but they're making them serve in stupider, smaller, ridiculous reasons. They
Here's
slave
my
labor.
question to that. Here's my question to that.
Hmm.
Hmm.
In that deal, I got 25 to life, right?
Yep, you got 20. You got to do 25 years minimum.
But what you're suggesting puts me in the front line, and I can literally die. Whereas
Yeah.
I can get killed in this
Yep.
lineup. But if I do my 25 years, if I play it right, I don't get killed by inmates, right? So the state ain't killing me in 25 years.
You
But
might get
you're
shrinked
telling
up
me
though.
in your deal I could die in 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Or
You
however long
could.
it takes for whatever to happen to
That's the
happen.
risk you take for the money. I
That's a
think.
But
risk.
keep in mind, you in jail 25 years in somewhere like Stateville or Menard or somewhere like that. Those are dangerous prisons for 25 years. And if you already up in the mix, and not everybody's getting stabbed up or in trouble, but I'm just saying that if you in a dangerous prison, 25 years is a long time. And a lot of times, let's keep it funky. There's a lot of times what happens is people go in for 5 year stretch, 2.5 year stretch, end up in some bullshit, and then they end up catching another charge. So a lot of
True.
people go with a smaller bid and then end up catching more years because they had to survive in there. And a lot of prisoners be having to survive. So my thing is that if you have 25, so here's the deal. So you got 25 years. I say, okay, cool. B, you got 25 years. We're going to use the Texas numbers. If we take $28,000, we'll multiply it by 25 years. That means it costs me $700,000 to house you in this jail. I say, cool. You know what? I tell you what, B, you got 25 years. What I'll do is you go serve and you might not always be on the front line. You go get trained, you go serve in our military. You could be instead of 25 years, you go serve for us for a third, 7 years, right? And the 25, what I say, $700,000 for $700,000, I'll give you 1/3 of that, right? So minus 33%, right? So that's 400, let's say $450,000. I'll give you $450,000 to serve for us for 7 years and you out. And you're not in jail. You actually learning something. You be a soldier. Yes, you have a risk of dying, but you got a risk of dying in jail too. You
I'm
actually
going right back to the streets in 7 years.
not if I give you 300,
That
not if I give you
that
three
money.
$450,000.
You literally just saw a millionaire plot murder on somebody, bro. The money ain't gonna stop nobody from out the streets. They gonna go back to the streets with more money in their hand and a better skill set on how to off niggas. Like that's what you're doing. You're training up
Well,
the killers to go back to the street.
I kind of see where you're coming from. I do, twin. I
I'm
kind of
just
see where
saying
you're coming from,
utilizing the prisoners in a better
but
way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that is going to take, if something like that
Mm,
will work, it would take a very serious vetting process to a very deep
yes.
psychological testing to
Mm-hmm.
figure out
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
who would be
Yeah.
situated best for that. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
know if it were me, yeah, I would, yeah, I'll take the 450.
You wouldn't
Yeah,
take
I'll
that
go
deal?
serve for
Yeah.
you,
But
but I would need some guarantees. Like, no, I'm not gonna get on the front line. I need to be guaranteed that I'm gonna be somewhere frying chicken for the shoes.
But you
You
can't
know,
decide that.
No, you can't decide that.
right.
Now the front line, okay,
Right.
front line is only if we in a war. If we're in a war. Now, I don't know what's gonna happen. We could be in one soon, but
Oh
let's say we're
Lord.
not in a war. We haven't actively been in a war for a long time. So if we're not in a war, you just in the military and you can learn. I mean, we take knucklehead 18-year-olds who want to join and we train them. So I feel like you don't have to be on the front line per se, but you could be a special black ops. You can learn to do something, and then we give you some of the money that we would have housed you to sit in prison and become worse anyway. Now,
now
if you do
that might
25 years,
that might work on the right individual, but again, I think that it would take some very serious vetting, some extensive psychological testing to figure out who could actually be
Yeah.
bettered from that. You'd have to look at
sure.
so many aspects. Their
And you have to consider everything that can go wrong. You can't
right.
just right. It's
Y'all,
not just
y'all, y'all
you
so
can't
damn scared to give a prisoner
idealize
a gun.
the end result. It's going to be people who are not going to fall under those same, those lines. So
You know
you
what?
have to look at
I
everything
can
that
you're
came
read
right.
y'all
along.
mind.
With
Yeah,
the
the
right
problem is
candidate, I think it can be successful. But with the
y'all think
wrong one, it
anybody
can
in
be a
prison who
disaster.
get a gun is going to become a mass murderer
No,
immediately.
No.
I'm saying that in your theory, because you're making like we take 18-year-olds, we kind of train them up. That's cool. But
Hmm.
most of them are there because they either want to be there or they were sent there by their parents, and
Hmm.
they're more trainable than a person in their late 20s. Because if you're doing this, you ain't gonna take nobody 35 and up. You want people in the age range that can actually fight for you if necessary, right? So you talking about late 20s to mid 30s, and them people, and they're already on some, like, their mentality is already on some criminal shit. You're not gonna really have a big success rate switching them over to become patriotic and army. You know what I'm saying? Like their thought
They're
process
gonna
ain't
be
gonna be the
over there
same.
doing some dirty shit. You
You know what
know,
I'm saying? Right. They're
trying to
still
get
gonna
some.
be. They're looking at it in ways. Like, I'm telling you right now, I'm hearing what you're saying, and in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna take this time. I'm gonna let y'all train me on how to use this skill set, and I'm gonna take that right back to what I was doing before. And I'm not even in that lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So if a
Hmm.
person who's in that thinks anything close to the way I think, they're going right back to the streets with this extra money you just gave them and this extra training you just gave them, and they're gonna be a goddamn menace. They finna,
Well, that's possible, but that's definitely possible, and I respect that. But you also have to think about the fact that most people who get out of jail, the reason why I might be saying the word wrong, but I wanted you to try to use the big word, the recidivism rate. Is that that's the word?
Mm-hmm.
Recidivism to go back? Well,
Mm-hmm.
the people who go back, the Negroes who go back, right? So one of the reasons why people go back is because they get out and they have no place in society and they can't make no money. So
That's a
that be the
fact.
biggest
mm-hmm.
problem. So my thing is that, look, you're not gonna live the rest of your life on 350 or $400,000, but it could do something for you. So my thing is that if you look at people who are in jail who might have one murder, right? If all people who have one murder might not necessarily be just criminal minded, they just in jail because it only take one crime to have you sit down for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have committed a murder. Like, bro, we know people who've committed. We all know somebody who locked up, who committed something and is sitting for a long time, right? And it's like that person may not necessarily be a lifelong criminal. Of course, there is lifelong criminals, but there's just people who made a mistake and they got to do their time, and they really don't have another choice. So my thing is like those people, not the people, because y'all. I know I can read your mind, B. You thinking about the people who like I'm a criminal for life, and whatever you put me in, I'm gonna be a criminal.
I'm gonna
You
find
put
my
me,
way. Yeah.
I'm gonna find
But
my
it
way to some
goes to
criminal
what y'all
stuff.
said, though. You have to have a very, very good vetting process on who
Sure.
Absolutely.
you put in that program, because honestly, you'll and if I've been sitting here in this prison, you don't know how I felt about the warden, the guards, the people in authority. So the minute you put that weapon in my hand, I literally might turn it on whoever's in authority because I have a problem with, what I mean, how I was
Trying to get
treated in
authority.
that same system. So it's a lot you got to put in think
Exactly.
towards that. The idea sounds good, but it can go really wrong. It can
No, I
go
can
See,
get
you know
it.
really
what
wrong.
would work? You know
And,
what would
and
work
this,
actually a whole lot better is if you give inmates a sense of purpose and the ability to give back to society without, you give them some incentive, but maybe, maybe set them free in a shorter amount of time. Like, for instance, and I know this is gonna sound crazy. I know it's gonna sound crazy, but listen, no matter. There's a lot of people who need kidneys. Okay, a lot of people. Okay,
Oh
there's a
my
lot of
God,
people. I'm no,
where are
I
we
know it
going with
sounds
this?
funny. It's funny, but I'm serious though. There's a lot of people who need kidneys. Okay, and you got a lot of people who's sitting there with two kidneys, right? They should, if they're in good health, put them on the donor list and be like, okay, look here. Okay, here's your chance.
Sell sell your body part for less time. Is that what we doing now?
I
Yeah.
mean, you can survive on one kidney. There's people who donate a kidney
True.
all the time, right?
True.
So
Got you.
listen,
True.
if like, hey, look, this is your chance to give back. This is your chance to help out. These are kids. Look, I'm
I
serious
mean,
though.
that's
Like,
I
look,
understand what
Okay.
you mean though.
there's a kid
Yeah.
out there
You
who
like
is
that, G?
suffering.
Yeah, I
He
see where
needs a
she's coming
kidney,
from.
okay? And you happen to be a match, okay? So we gonna get one of these kidneys up off you, and and you
What do I get in
and
return for my kidney?
We gonna
You're
and,
saving a
you know,
child's life.
nah. You get like
Okay,
So
time
you're
off.
gonna
time off
get,
your
like you
sentence,
said,
right?
some
Like
type of a
Like
purpose,
years off
like
my
you're
sentence.
doing some
right,
good in the world.
and while you're recovering, maybe we'll put you in a nicer spot while you recover. You know what I mean? Like maybe we'll put you like in a secured state hospital or something. That's not.
Okay,
so.
so
You think we
let-
should
Mm.
negotiate with prisoners for body parts,
Hell
for
basically,
yeah,
organs?
basically.
Okay.
hell yeah.
All right, so B, I'm gonna give you. So we'll put them side by side.
I
So
understand
let's
that
put these
point.
deal. Let's put the deals side by side. Let's pretend we have both
I'm
deals.
saying
So
though,
B,
it can
B, you
work.
got 25
Yeah.
years in jail. You got 25 years,
Which means I
and
did some bullshit. I did
yeah,
some
you did
shit.
some bullshit. You locked up in Stateville for 25 years. You got
Okay.
25 years to do. You have a choice. Now you ain't getting out to 2050, right? So we almost in 2025. So you have a choice. You have Yah's plan. You could give up a kidney, get a couple years out, and go stay in a couple years chopped off for 25 years. You ain't gonna get that many years off for a kidney. How much you gonna get? Maybe 3, 4 years, 5 years for a kidney.
Oh Lord.
So you get, let's say you get 5 years off for your kidney, you go get to stay in somewhere nicer, and that's you can get out in 2045. My deal, you're out in 2032, and you get $450,000. All you gotta do, you gotta do is be a soldier and go fight
Go fight.
somewhere.
You know what? If I'm giving those two options, I'm gonna go fight.
Hell yeah. Who
If I'm
wouldn't?
giving those two options.
All right, y'all. Everybody have a great night.
You
All
too.
right, y'all.
All right, y'all.
Bye,
Later,
Later.
family.
y'all.